Welcome to Afterburner. It is Ryan Pinder and Ryan Pike. Before we begin tonight's show, just passing along thoughts and I suppose warm wishes. I don't know how well to frame this because Greg Millen passed away today, and that is incredibly hard news. In his 60s, as a guy that had been a superb broadcaster, after being a player in the NHL and was in the fiber of the sport for what has to be 5-6 decades. So before we begin tonight's show, just a thought to the friends and family of Greg Millen, who we lost today. Ryan, the Calgary Flames are in action today. They too have another victory, a comeback win, another in what had to be the biggest game of the year, unless it was a laugher, because of obviously they're going to beat the Sharks. But my goodness, they were in one early. And maybe not, I don't know, but I ask you, who's around the Dome a fair amount, this wouldn't have been something the players would not have known about, and it would be someone I imagine they bump into.
Yeah, I mean, hockey's a small world, and especially in a small market like Calgary, like everyone kind of knows each other. You see people around the room, and this can't have been an easy day for the Flames. Like even if somebody's not quote unquote part of your team, they're sort of part of the extended family. And so, this, you got to commend the Flames for figuring out a way to get points in this game, because this is probably one of those games that you look back at and go, okay, this was a game they had to, I think, gut through and battle through in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, we watched the NBC Sports California broadcast, the Sharks regional broadcasts. As a result, the people at Sportsnet, one of their colleagues, seemingly surprisingly passing away today, which makes total sense. I know there was a bit of what's going on here for people that maybe were racing home from an evening activity and turned on the game only to see the Sharks broadcast. But again, just before we get going, just thoughts and warmest wishes to friends and family of Greg Millen. This show is a presentation of Bet365. We'll get into it. We'll talk about another stunning comeback. Also, if you want to get involved, by the way, sign up, grab that app, Bet365. Get it now and use that promo code NATION. Well, you want to get involved? Get some super chats going. Attach a dollar figure to your comments. We will put it on the program. And the money, we're not going to waste it on, I don't know, silly pins, collectibles, draft beer, any of that. It's all going to go to the Youth Centers of Calgary, which is a better cause. Youth Centers of Calgary, a great safe place for kids after school, whether it's a warm meal or just hanging out with friends, playing games. A safe place to be for kids when school's done, and maybe families are still working as well. Often they are once school ends. Okay, we'd welcome you if you have any thoughts, if you have any Greg Millen anecdotes, fire them in. We'll rip through those today. And any other thoughts in the game, Ryan? If they lost this game, I mean, the math's already hard. A win tonight helps it a little bit, but everyone had them in pen for a win here anyway. If this thing was going to remain competitive, it was not a start to the game that inspired a lot of confidence.
Yeah, like, I mean, this is they entered the game separated by 35 points between these two teams. This is a game the Flames needed to have, and a game that they ought to have, and they, for various reasons, I don't think they came out of the gates very strong. But it was basically a tale of two games. The first period, the Flames were by far the second best team in the ice. Yeah. And thankfully for them, their netminder was the best player on either team on the ice. And then, once the page turned from the first period, I think they really found the rhythm. They were decent, if unspectacular, in the second period. And then the third period, I think they really found the rhythm, found their desperation, found their execution, and, things that were, passes that were missing guys or being intercepted in the first period were taped, right on the tape in the third period. And, they managed to take advantage of a team that is 35 points below them in the standings and get a win they needed to have.
The first period, it felt like they were going to survive, and they did, but not without a late goal. Dustin Wolf was upside down. I'd start a couple saves. The Will Smith pass on the 2-on-1 to Celebrini that he stops. He then makes a save on Carl Grundstrom, the former King. And you're like, wow, the Flames are going to get shelled by 20 in the first here, and it's going to be 0-0 based on their goalie until, with 24 seconds left, the Sharks would open the scoring. We'll take a look at that goal as, again, they needed to get to that room and reset, because it was arguably one of the bigger periods that they've had in front of them when nothing seemed to go right for them.
Everybody sort of gets crossed up behind the nets. No one's really sure who's supposed to have who. Kevin Ball sort of cheats a bit below to sort of cover up for Anderson, and that leaves Will Smith wide open. And, there's a lot of little things that
Wolf even poking at it doesn't entirely help. And I thought he was awesome, but it was a scramble. No one could seem to get the thing settled and on a taped stick, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it was as the phrasing goes, mistakes were made.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree with that. 1-0 Sharks after 20, off to the second, where the Flames started to take over, but they also had some penalties to kill. Penalty kill was huge in this game. Yeah, they allowed one late, but with a 2-goal lead and with the clock their friend, it really didn't set up the a mad dash at the end so much as it kept the Sharks in it for the final few minutes. So and shout out to the penalty kill, which had killed off 12 in a row until the 6-on-4 goal. It's a 2-man advantage goal with an empty net behind the Sharks.
Yeah.
That gets it to 3-2. Will Smith second of the night.
Trent Cull's taking over the penalty kill with Brad Larson away from the club. And, Trent Cull, call a spade. He did not have a great first NHL experience with the Canucks a couple years ago. But, he's really seemed to have found a really nice rhythm with the PK group since the beginning of February. And that group has been, I believe there's something like third or fourth in the league in terms of penalty kill percentage since Cull really got a chance to take things over. And, this is the situation where, if your penalty kill is a little bit worse, you probably lose this game. But their penalty kill was exactly what they needed it to be in this kind of situation.
Yeah, it's a good point. It was the second period, they kill off a Backlund cross-checking penalty. They neutralize the Hanley slashing penalty. Wolf's good again. He makes the save, which was probably his best of the night. I know, Yasmin, you've got a highlight reel. You may as well roll it now, because the one you're going to put on the highlight reel first is in that second period that didn't actually have any goals, but we started to see the momentum swing to the Flames. Wolf makes the first save, really sprawling out to his glove side, and it seems to hit him on the side of the torso or the underarm there. Like, that is A, incredible to get there, and B, just, showing you no quit. That's a huge save at a huge moment. It didn't feel like a night where necessarily there was going to be any offense around, but a 2-goal hole feels even deeper than normal on a night where the Sharks have neutralized you offensively.
Yeah. He's I know the Calder talk has been mostly Lane Hudson related in the last little bit, and
he's been great,
and rightfully so. Like, Lane Hudson's been phenomenal this year, but Dustin Wolf, to reiterate, is if not one, he's one of a handful of reasons, if not the reason, why the Calgary Flames are where they are. He's top 5, top 6, depending on how you want to define it, in 5-on-5 save percentage, I think,
which is incredible as a rookie.
Of goalies that have played 40 or more games, he is 5th. The only guys with better numbers than him are Hellebuck, Kemper, Vasilevsky, and Cam Talbot. So not exactly slouches. And this is him figuring out how to deal with the workload and the rhythm and stuff. So he's I know we've been, this is going to sound like a broken record, but he was phenomenal tonight. And I think we'll probably also get other guys, but Adam Klapka, man, let's
start there. They needed someone to make a play, and I don't know that he was the highest on people's list of guesses, but the 6'8" fourth liner had his fingerprints all over the third period when the tide started to turn. Here he is tying this contest at 1. Before affecting it in other positive ways here too, because this was a crucial sequence in the game that really got them back into it. Kadri's shot, save made by the Russian who spent a lot of time with the Barracuda,
Georgi Romanov,
and rebound jammed in by Klapka, and that's a huge one. You can see it.
And so
there we go, fellas.
Our pal Kent Wilson often has mused about the concept of functional toughness. Basically, we'll pick on Hunter Smith we're sorry, Hunter Smith, but you're the sort of the prototypical example of this. Hunter Smith is a really good OHLer who was big, and he had good numbers because he was on a good team and he was big,
and because he was 19 and 20. But
sure. So he was doing well because he was just bigger than the other kids. And Hunter Smith he hit the pros and he just could not do the same things because everybody was faster and could get there before he could, and it just didn't work for him. Adam Klapka is one of the great examples of functional toughness. He's big, he plays big, he has that long reach, and through the time he spent in the American League with the Flames development staff, he's learned to really use his bigness in a way that basically maximizes effectiveness without making him a detriment. And he keeps up with the play on that 2-on-1. He was in the exact right spot. He knew where to be. And he's a guy that Ryan Huska's praised a lot throughout the season, especially recently. The fourth line's been very effective since, I think this is the 13th or 14th game in a row that Klapka's been in the lineup. And he's a guy you can keep on the fourth line, and he'll make the fourth line good. And if someone has an off night, or he was elevated because Pospisil sort of went into the boards awkwardly and went to the locker room favoring his arm.
Yeah.
And so you go, oh, we need someone to play the right side. Klapka's a righty, put him up there. And you can put him up there with skilled players, and he doesn't slow them down. In fact, he adds an element that they don't have. And as a result, we saw that right after this, and that's probably the next clip. Klapka drew a minor penalty on another offensive rush, which led to a Flames power play. Yeah,
and a huge power play. The first of the game, Klapka draws it after scoring. It's a huge moment for the Calgary Flames because it's a huge game. It wasn't the start you wanted. You've outplayed them for a period plus at this point. Now's your chance to go get 2 points or at least get on the right path. They do that on the man advantage. It's a perfect shot. It's a perfect screen. And that's a really good example of Huberdeau, adapting in Calgary. And I think doing things that, I don't think he was known for in Florida, but do help you win games here. And I'm not sure how they're drawing up the assists on this, but Huberdeau won't get one, but he's a big part of why that goes in.
They changed the scoring. So Huberdeau got credited with the goal. I don't know if he ended up with the goal when I'm watching replay in front of me right now,
flyby,
looking for other angles.
Yeah.
But either way, it's a lot of good things going on here. We call the front of the net the high rent district for a reason, because if you're there, ask Sean Monahan how his hips feel, because he basically just ate lumber in the back of the top of his hips for the better part of 8-10 years with the Flames, however long he's with the Flames, many years. And he scored a lot of goals from around the blue paint because he was eating a lot of, he definitely tipped that.
Did he? Nice. Okay.
Eating a lot of cross checks in the back or slashes in the back of the legs from goalies or defensemen. It's a tough place to make a living. And a couple years ago, Jonathan Huberdeau did not, nor did he have to, make his living around the blue paint. And because of the role he's being asked to play in Calgary, and I'd argue the role he's embraced in Calgary, that's what he's doing. Mm-hmm. And he's a net front guy in the power play. And if you watch a lot of the Flames power play goals, especially, key goals at key moments, you'll typically find number 10 taking away the goalie's eyes because he's a big dude. And if he wants to stay in that spot and he's willing to take the hacks and whacks to make it happen, he's going to be a guy who's a net positive. So
Huberdeau gets credit. Is goal number 28 on the season. As you see an angle where he tips it, you knew he was a big part of the goal. Good to see him get credit there. Frost will draw the first helper, Uyghur the second, and that bumps Kadri's second helper of the night off the board. Kadri had a little jam play early in the second as well. I wanted to note just in terms of some chances he was going tonight and helped turn the tide for them as well. So that made it 2-1. Then again, in a wave here in a matter of 7-ish minutes, 7 minutes and 18 seconds, 3 goals from the Flames. They weren't done. It's a great defensive play by Michael Backlund that allows Crost right above the pad, low blocker. That's a goal scorer's goal, and he is that.
And Alex Wenberg trying to skate it out, but just Backlund with the second effort, third effort, fourth effort, whatever you want to call it. He just gets the stick in there enough that Wenberg can't get a clean lane out. And Coronato, I mean, we talked about how good a two-way player Huberdeau has become. Coronato is a sneaky effective player away from the puck because I think, he spent that time last year with the Wranglers sort of figuring out the rest of the game. He was, killing penalties. He was playing all situations, defensive situations, whatever. And he's a guy that coincidentally Trent Cull knows quite well.
I imagine.
And as a result, I mean, you have a couple coaches that know Coronato's tendencies really well, and he's able to play on that tough minutes line with Backlund and Coleman quite a bit. And this is why you can do that, because he can go in at key moments and sort of find those soft spots in coverage and just score a goal that, ends up standing as the game winner.
Right.
And, he's scored big goals in the USHL with the Steel. He's scored big goals with Harvard. He's scoring big goals in the National Hockey League. And I would argue, this is his first NHL season, really.
First full NHL campaign. 22 goals already.
This might be the worst version of Coronato we see.
Yeah, that's a great thing for the Calgary Flames. They got to sign him this summer. Just quick thoughts on what Craig Conroy would want to do and maybe where the player might feel they do or don't have leverage. He had a year one burnt with a Game 82 debut and signing when he came pro 2 years ago. And that means he's not eligible for offer sheets, so no one needs to worry about that. Johnny Gaudreau is similar.
He's a 10-2C.
A 10-2C, as Pike says. R2D2, LMNOP. He's a 10-2C. What does the next contract look like for him? I know we got all summer to do this.
It feels like a bridge because he's only played one full year, and you want to sort of build a bit more of a body of work before you throw a ton of money at him. But
do you?
He's also
do you not know that this feels like to me it feels like a floor.
He's been so good. I'm willing to have the conversation because he's been so good. Coincidentally, this is his fourth game-winning goal of the year. Only Flames with more game-winning goals this season. Names like Huberdeau, Coleman, Kadri. If you're going into that negotiation going, well, how useful and helpful is he to your team? He is third on your team in goals, despite starting the year in the American League for the most part, and as a fourth liner.
Everyone else you named is in their 30s.
Yeah, he's tied for second on the team in game-winning goals. So he's clutch.
Yeah, and I look at it and it's like, okay, so he's good away from the puck, better than I even thought. The numbers reflect that too, which is good. It's not just, I think he's good. It's like, well, no, when he's on the ice, chances and shots against are X. That's data. I don't see the risk being high. Whereas, another guy that needs a contract that I think is a really good young player is Connor Zary, but there's more injuries here. You've had him a little at center.
Zary's played probably like 30 or 40 more NHL games though.
Sure, but I just feel like there's more risk in the Zary than Coronato. You can tell me he's played less. I feel more sure of what Coronato is at the NHL level. I feel like he's absolutely a top six right winger who can score.
That's what we call a paradox.
What's paradoxical about it?
Just the idea that the guy who's played less, you feel like you know more about.
Yeah, well, and look, I mean, development's not linear. One guy's had a lot of injuries to fight through. Like Coronato's been really, really steady Eddie this year. I think we noted it on the other show. He hasn't gone more than 6 games without a goal. He just looks the part. I think his ceiling's higher than Zary's. It's just a knock at Zary so much as a compliment to the prowess Coronato has at putting the puck in the net. And in this league, that's the harder thing to find. The guy that can beat a goalie from distance. I mean, those are the guys that get paid. It's not your Slavins and Backlunds that make $10 million a year. It's the guys that put up numbers. This is a guy I would try to get locked in before he becomes really expensive. If he continues to progress, let's say you bridge him, you might be looking at an $8, $9, $10 million player when this summer you could have a chance to lock him in long-term for his prime at a very much more reasonable rate. Now, and I don't think that it's crazy to project him as a guy that's going to score 30 to 40.
And he's a guy that, if you look at his deployments, let's get nerdy for a second.
Yeah,
he's at 47.6% at offensive zone faceoffs. Offensive zone faceoffs basically a proxy for how often do you start in the D zone, how often do you start in the O zone.
Yeah.
The idea is your guys who are a little bit worse defensively, you start in the high ground. If you're playing with Nazem Kadri, because Nazem Kadri isn't a shutdown guy, but he's great in the offensive zone, you put them in the O zone. Sharon Govich's line, always in the O zone. If you're playing on the Backlund's line, you're always starting the D zone.
Yeah.
And Coronato started, the only a handful of players, like 2-3 players in the entire team, have less O zone starts than he does. And yet he's at like 52%, 53% for expected goals percentage, 51.5.
And it's just another feather in his cap because he can play on a shutdown line with Backlund and Coleman and be effective as he was tonight, as he's been for large swaths this season. And he can also go up on top and play with the likes of Kadri and Huberdeau and create offense. I really do see this as your last chance to get him at a reasonable number, and maybe he's just going to never hit 30, but that would feel like an outlier outcome for me, just, on my gut.
He also leads active Flames forwards in plus minus.
Sure.
For those of you who care about plus minus,
you mentioned it, you must.
Plus minus only matters if your plus minus is really good or really bad.
That seems to be accurate. Okay. So we both like Coronato, but you wouldn't be surprised by a bridge, or you just think the agent knows what we know, and it's like
I would argue a little of both. I think it's sort of you're both sides sort of hedging their bets a bit, but I mean, I think you have the conversation about okay, what
does a long-term deal look like?
Because you're going to have cap space.
And so in theory, when wouldn't you have cap space moving forward? When your team's really good and you're paying a lot of good players, that's when locking him in long-term is a huge win. To get him at a lower number for the next 2 years, they didn't do anything with their cap space this year. Like, it didn't help them. It wouldn't help them in the next two. I don't expect this team to spend to the cap next year. Do you? It would be an unusual.
I'll say this. They've saved money this year that they can spend in the future. I think every year the team allocates the full allocation of cap money to spend, and if you don't spend it, and you're heading into an environment where maybe the dollar's a little bit worse, maybe you're going to need some flexibility. You got $20 million you didn't spend this year that you planned on that you can just put in the bank and spend next year. So I would say the money that they've saved this year will be a resource they can use in the future.
You agree with the premise that the cap could be a tighter spot in 4 or 5 years when this team's a theoretical contender than the next two. That's a fair assumption.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
And so that's where I sort of say, you want the long-term win. It's not a hard bet to make right now, because what you're doing is, as a player gets better into his prime, okay, we might have to overpay for the first year or two, but we get the deal down the road. That would fit this team's window of what I think they're trying to do, which is to, be more than a plucky, hardworking team when a new rink opens. Be one that has higher skilled players and they continue to collect nice young assets. So I hope they do it. It's kind of a bit of a tangent here, but
hey, if the idea is that this project, they already have more points this year than they did last year. Their next win will tie them with the number of wins they got last year. And last year, it's the old the Moneyball line where they had last year they had Zadorov and Hanifin and Markstrom and all these guys. And this year they sent them all out the door and won as many games and have more points. So you look at that as going, okay, cool, good for you. Can you nudge this thing forward a little bit next year? Can you go from being battling for a playoff spot after game 77 to maybe incomfortably after game 77?
Sure, be third in your division, like sure, whatever. And look, maybe they go hit a home run and sign Sam Bennett in free agency and add another left shot D, and Zane Parekh doesn't need a huge amount of time to adjust to this league. And
full year of Adam Klapka in the fourth line.
There's a lot of reasons to think it's a more talented roster next year. But again, what's the cap next year? 94.5, something like that.
95.5. Like
that's they're going to spend a lot to get to that number. And maybe you go long term with a bunch of these young guys and you get closer. So we'll see. Speaking of games that matter, winning more games. Let's take a look at the road ahead. We do that for Platinum Mitsubishi, Calgary's #1 destination for the upgraded 2025 Outlander. And speaking of which, we have the 2025 Outlander Barbecue, the launch party. You are invited Saturday, April 12th, 11 till 4. You gonna pop by, Pike? That's what I heard.
We're in the read, so I think we have to go.
The font's too small, so it's just fine print at this point. I can't read it, so I can't verify.
I was told I'm getting fed, so I'm showing up.
There you are. Amazing. And I will be there at some point, no question. Gold will be there. Pike, nice to see you'll be there, hammering free food, as is our media obligation. Stop by, say hello. The 2025 Outlander. I'm hearing very nice things. Our pal Gold won't shut up about it. It must be a fantastic car.
That's what I'm hearing. I'm excited to check it out.
There you are. Well, here's the thing. See, it features the first ever vehicle audio system provided by the industry leaders at Yamaha. And now in 2025, the only vehicle offered by a mainstream manufacturer, brand name audio systems from the base model all the way up. Come see it. Saturday the 12th will be at Platinum Mitsubishi, the location 2720 Barlow Trail Northeast here and in Calgary. Road ahead is this. One more road game, then they're back home.
They got 5 games left.
They were
the road ahead is getting short.
They were supposed to finish with a 3-game homestand. This was going to be their last home game coming up in 2 nights in Anaheim. Instead, they've got that April 17th. This game will be moved from wildfires, and they're probably going to put it, said a very wise man, Ryan Pike, in that April 17th.
And it's a national game. It's a game of such importance for the sport of hockey that the folks at ESPN said, hot damn, we've got to put that game on.
And it may be, they're in this in the sense that they're not eliminated. They are not likely to make the playoffs, but they are not eliminated from playoff contention. That game could matter.
The math is against them right now. Actually, shout out to our friends on the NBC sports broadcast. A, you did a lovely job filling in for our sports pals.
Yep.
B, independent of that, it's just a fun broadcast. And they mentioned that the Flames were desperately trying to beat the San Jose Sharks on Monday night. On Wednesday night, the Flames are going to be putting on their Sharks jerseys and pom-poms and cheering on the San Jose Sharks because they're playing Minnesota on the road. And so the Flames need they need to take care of their business and get some help. And part of that help on their side could be the San Jose Sharks bailing the Flames out a bit.
No question. Wednesday, they'll have bigger fish to fry. They'll be wearing their own jerseys, not the Sharks ones, but we get the analogy. They'll be cheering on the Sharks who play the Wild. It is an 8:00 start in Anaheim. 3-game homestand goes as such. Huge game Friday night at the Dome. Minnesota in town.
Humongous big.
8 p.m. start. Also a national game, I'm guessing, with an 8 p.m. start?
No, it's a regional game.
Really? And why start at 8? Interesting.
I don't know.
Weird.
I don't know.
Then you've got the Sunday night game against San Jose. Another San Jose game. This one at Scotiabank Saddledome. Next Tuesday, they play Vegas to wrap the homestand. And then what may be the biggest game of the entire season, if it matters, it will be the LA Kings, Thursday the 17th, the final day of the regular season. The playoffs will begin on the 19th. And the smart people that know things are saying if you play on the 17th, you won't play on the 19th when the playoffs start. It'll be the 20th or whatever scheduling allows you beyond the 19th to start.
If we're using our whiteboards, my guess is for the Saturday for opening the playoffs, you're probably doing a Toronto game and an Edmonton game, and then whoever the hell's left on Sunday. So maybe the Flames,
would be fun. No
Flames
question.
Winnipeg on Sunday. That could be fun.
They do not control their own fate, but they're taking care of what they can with another victory over the Wild tonight. Let's do this. Are you buying and selling your home? Are you thinking about it? Do you want to know what your home's worth? All those things Derek Newman can help you with. The Derek Newman Group with CIR Realty, whether it's buying or selling, let Derek do the work for you. Give him an email at dnewman@cirrealty.ca or call him 403-619-6661. You can also visit dereknewmangroup.com. Whether that's a complimentary in-house home staging consultation, whether it's finding homes that aren't even on the market yet. Derek can help you with it all, whether it's your first time doing it or you're a very seasoned flippy flopper of homes in the Calgary market. If you're in the Calgary area, the greater Calgary area, give him a call, 403-619-6661, or email him at dnewman@cirrealty.ca. Let Derek put his network to work for you. It's going to be at our playoff draft on the 17th as well.
Ooh.
Do we have the playoff draft board? I didn't even
that's going to be a busy night.
It's going to be a very busy night. We might have to stream the Flames while we're doing a playoff draft, or maybe they're already in. Maybe the Wild have decided to lose every game between now and then. We'll see what's happening.
They'll probably still need to win their way in at that point.
The Wild?
The red team.
The red team. If the game matters, it'll probably be them needing to win. If it doesn't matter, it means they're out.
And for our dear friends, you sickos out there, we know we'll be watching both games. Minnesota's games remaining: San Jose, Calgary, Vancouver, Anaheim. So
the most motivated team they'll see is the Calgary Flames on Friday.
Yeah, Vancouver's 4 back of Calgary and 8 out of a playoff spot. I don't think that's happening.
Yeah.
But maybe it'll be chock full of Abbotsford Canucks full of piss and vinegar and wanting to play a bit more.
If that was a good plan to win games, they should start doing it now because they could use some more games won. But I hear what you're saying. Careful of the teams you look past. What do you make of the Anaheim game? They beat the Oilers tonight, but it certainly wasn't a healthy, full Oilers roster. We know Draisaitl has been in and out and out again. McDavid has not yet returned from an injury.
They had Trent Frederick for 7 minutes of a game, and now he's out again.
That's a thing they don't need.
Yeah, it's things are interesting up there. It's a damn shame. I don't know. I think the nice thing with Anaheim is Anaheim is a team that they're playing loose. Like they're trying to play spoiler. They outplayed Edmonton, and they're a team that just they know that they're playing for the future. They're playing for jobs, and they're all basically trying to show that it's an entire team full of Oliver Shillingtons. It's a bunch of guys that things didn't turn out the way the Ducks really hoped they would this year. They thought they'd be further along than they are. They're not, for various reasons.
Yeah.
But they're trying to get jobs. They're trying to, prove to a lot of teams not to take them lightly. And so they're potentially a very dangerous team for anyone who plays them because they got nothing to lose. They're not thinking about the golf course right now. They're thinking about pissing off whoever they're playing against, and that makes them very dangerous.
Yeah, the only non-common opponents these two teams have, Calgary plays Vegas one more time, and it's the Vancouver Canucks or the Wild. Everyone else is a similar foe. They play each other. They each have an Anaheim and a San Jose left. It's an interesting, and obviously the Kings for that last game if it matters.
And someone in the comments mentioned this, and we highlighted this before when we thought it would be a Calgary-Vancouver battle to the very end. We're entering a stretch now, starting with the Minnesota game on Friday, where Vancouver's last 3 opponents are all teams the Flames will play the night before. So that's kind of fun. If Vancouver was in a different spot in the standings, it would mean more, but it's kind of interesting. It's a weird quirk that 3 opponents in a row will
so Minnesota is there on Saturday.
Yeah.
So that's a back-to-back for the Wild. The Flames play every other day. No more backs-to-backs left. Their final one was Colorado, Utah.
San Jose on the Sunday. They'll go to Vancouver on the Monday.
Interesting.
The last 3 Vancouver opponents are all in the second half of back-to-backs, flying in from Calgary the night before.
Interesting.
It's
that's a topic for another day. Let's keep moving. I did see a super chat jump in, so we'll hit the supers right now for the youth centers of Calgary. Handsome Dan's in for $100. He does that after every Wolf win, much to Mr. Public Payne's chagrin, as of course. He doesn't seem to think Dustin Wolf's good at net, but he loves the backup for whatever reason. Let's get to the guys paying money, though. Going to miss the live show tomorrow, fellas, so I want to get this in. Question for Pike. What is your take on playing Parekh next game instead of Bean or other? Any worries, and do you think they'll do it? So just a thought on Zane Parekh entering the lineup. When when will it happen? How does it happen?
Here's the metaphor I'd use. We all have our strength areas and say I'm good economics.
Okay.
If you threw me into a PhD level class without, if you said, take this final exam without letting me take the course beforehand, or even sort of read up some of the lectures, even if I have a good background in it, it's not setting me up for success.
Right.
I love Zane Parekh. The Flames love Zane Parekh. The Flames would love to have Zane Parekh be successful for as long as possible. Throwing him in with few, if any, practices.
No chemistry with his defense player. Someone has to play their offside on that pair.
Yeah, throwing him in during a playoff run and putting him in a position where if he screws up, they could miss the playoffs isn't the ideal situation. Like I'd say this, when we use the old term dance with the one that brought you, the idea is also this: you want to give the guys that are there and got them to this point a chance to finish the job. And so if the Flames, let's just say the Flames lose because, you mentioned Jake Bean. If Jake Bean screws up and the Flames lose, Jake Bean also got them there. So it's not really a situation where they're going to blame Jake Bean, because Jake Bean's just as responsible for them being successful this year as anything else. And so I think that's the big argument for not throwing Suniev or Parekh in cold, simply because, they're They're great players. They're going to be good. They want them to be good, but they also don't want to throw them into a situation that doesn't set them up for success.
I agree entirely. And I also think the handedness hurts him because they're chock-a-block on the right side. And are you going to ask Braden Hall to play the left side in the most important game of the year? He hasn't done that all year. Are you going to move him to play with Rasmus Anderson? That doesn't feel like the type of deployment you want to give a rookie in his first year.
Uyghur's been so good playing on his right side for the last like 2 months, 3 months.
And even if he's great on the left side, I don't know that Parekh's the natural partner for him either. Like
guy he's never played with. Yeah,
put him in a spot where I feel like, hey, all your chips are on the table. Let's throw in this guy that's had 0 full practices with the team. I'm sorry. People are saying at the counterpoint, well, what about Makar? Well, yeah, if you're going to compare him to a future Hall of Famer, then, I would say that's
Makar,
amazing that you have him in that same conversation. But
Makar was a 4th overall pick. Makar was a year and a half older. Makar had been playing against grown-ass men for the whole year.
Older players,
Makar was basically the best college player, if not one of the top 3 college players at that point. So, like, it's basically you had more of an idea of what Parekh or what Makar was against grown-ass men and in a certain playing style and what he could get away with and what he couldn't against men. And I think at that point, the Sharks or the Avalanche also had some openings because they were a little bit banged up in the back end. So you're basically saying, okay, can Cale Makar, 20-year-old, physically more mature, playing against men, slot in instead of my 8th or 9th best defenseman?
Yeah,
that's a conversation I'm willing to have. But it's like, if the question is like Parekh versus Yan Kuznetsov, okay, I'll have that conversation. But if it's Parekh versus guys that have been on the team all year, like, and even, you want to take out guys, we've mentioned how good the PK has been and how crucial it's been to them grinding out games. Any defenseman you take out, you're basically you're basically mucking around with your special teams units a bit. So Zane will get his chance. Probably not until either the season's over or until they have an E next to the name in the standings, but he's going to get his chance. He's the guy that they love. They want him to be successful, but they want to set him up for success.
Yeah, I could see a world where if they had lost tonight and they only get 1 point in Anaheim or something like that, that you could see Suniev and Parekh on Friday if Minnesota had taken care of their business, or maybe if they lose Friday in regulation, and that's okay. It's not the E, but now a single point, like maybe at that point. And I think they will be keen to get those guys in, but they've, history would show as long as they feel like they have a chance to win, they're not throwing someone like, I can't tell you how different the Saginaw Spirit are from the Calgary Flames.
Yeah.
And he's a great player and he's a great prospect. And I think he'll be a great NHL defenseman, but to throw him into the frying pan for his first game ever, just like let's exercise patience. This might be an obvious decision in 4 or 5 days.
Having Suniev and Parekh here is, I would argue, as much about getting them started for the off season, and getting them started. Like, we've had the debate. You guys have had the debate on the other show about what you do with Parekh next year and how weird the OHL's CHL agreement is.
Yeah.
If the idea is you want to maximize the effectiveness of Parekh next season for the organization and give him as good a chance as any to make the NHL club, that's kind of what this next little period will be about. Same with Suniev. So it's patience. We'll go to the fireworks factory soon, but you're gonna have to wait a little bit.
Yeah, and look, he looked out of place in camp. You could see the high end skill, but all the time and space he was used to in junior wasn't there. And until he competes in that environment and he's used to the amount of time and space that's in an NHL game, it would be unfair to expect him to step in and just know how it works. It's a foreign environment to him. And it was for Cale Makar, might go down as the greatest defenseman in NHL history. But like, that's a pretty tough bar to measure and the example to compare him to.
Yeah. Flames put Gaudreau in game 82 when they were out of the playoffs to give him a
Vancouver
taste. And, Gaudreau, all due respect, actually, I'd say Gaudreau was to the NCAA that year what Parekh is to the CHL this year. I'd say they were as big an outlier from the norm in terms of being great junior/collegiate players. You give them a taste, set them up for the next season, and then you hope that they can take what they need to get over the top. Same, they did the same with Coronato a couple years ago, where Coronato got game 82, got his feet wet, and then it set him up for a really good training camp. I think that's the idea. That's
Coronado played Sharks game 82, if I'm correct, and then Wolf was in net that night, I think, for also
first career NHL win.
There you go. Yes. Do we have another Parekh comment? Because I want to keep going on the Parekh, but if it's a comment in there, we'll throw it in. No. Okay. So here's one for you. For those that are sort of scratching their heads about what's this AHL conversation next year, Zane Parech's not allowed to leave the OHL to play hockey unless for the Calgary Flames within the organization. He's signed by the Flames. They can't say, hey, we'll play him for 5 games with the Flames, and he needs a little more time, and we can ripen this prospect in the American League. They're not allowed. They have to return him to junior for many reasons. That rule has existed for a long, long time. And I think for many, many reasons that rule is going to change in the near future. But as it stands, the American League's not an option for him next year, basically until his junior team's done playing. Yeah. So how would you feel about Zane Parekh in and out of the lineup, like we saw maybe to a greater extent, Mishkov getting games off under Torts, even I know Leo Carlson early on his first year, you saw in and out of the lineup a bit. And then when Christmas rolls around, you say, Hockey Canada, you donkeys, don't screw it up this time. Here's the guy that can run power play 1 for you, and say, have a great 2 weeks. Is that a little too, or do you have to see how he's operating? You obviously have to see how he looks October, November, December, but I think
the big challenge would be the kid needs reps. The kid needs reps. And I think the idea of, okay, how do you maximize his ability to move forward? Because if the idea is that when Scotia Place opens in 2027, Zane Parekh is a very important part of a hockey club that includes many good young players.
Yep.
How do you ensure that he's as good as he can be for game 1 of that building? And so that'd be what I'm working towards. This is the idea of, we hear Craig always talk about he's trying to make decisions not for this year, but for 2-3 years down the road. I think that's one of the developmental decisions they'll have to juggle. I think they have a handful of guys they want to give really long looks to at camp. One of them, Zane Parekh. And I think they really want to figure out a way to maximize the utility of the developmental tools they have available to them.
Yeah. And I view the World Junior Tournament as one of those tools, in the sense that even Sean Monahan, his rookie year, we saw hit doldrums midseason, and it's not uncommon for it'll be his 19-year-old season next year for a younger player to say, look, we can see the flashes of it, but it's a grind, and we probably aren't going to be using you in a huge minute role in your first season in the NHL. And you might be in and out of the lineup if you aren't returned to junior. Here's a chance to go be an alpha, play 24, 25 minutes, run the top power play unit, play huge games, and try to win something. I see that as a developmental win that too many NHL teams are afraid to use.
Isn't it kind of wild that Bennett and Monahan, neither of them played in the World Juniors at all? It's kind of weird, eh?
Bennett injury would be a big part, right?
Yeah. And Monahan was here, so I mean,
they didn't let him go.
Yeah,
it's actually crazy that Zane Parekh hasn't played in the World Juniors either, Dave Cameron. So they've got that in common, don't they?
Doesn't know how to score. That's the problem with him.
I don't know if it's that. I don't know if it's that. Anyway, we got another 6 months to 9 months for that conversation. But I just get the sense that he's going to have to really look out of place to not be an NHLer for beyond the 10 games he's allowed next year.
And I also think the idea is okay, you have Braden Pahal that you can use in penalty kill situations and defensive situations. You have, Rasmus Anderson, his future, he has another year left in his deal. We'll see what happens with him. You have guys that can play either side. Parekh at times last year or this season, last couple of years, has played either side for Saginaw. Maybe that's something they look at, but I think they're going to, between whatever replaces Penticton and the
rookie tournament you're talking about.
Yeah. They're going to have a lot of runway for Parekh. And I think, he's going to be one of the great projects that they have to juggle the next year or so.
Yeah, and the right side is interesting because Uyghur's a natural righty, but can play both sides. Rasmus has played almost exclusively the right side his whole career, and Braden Pahal's a really, really good third pair right guy in the org in the sense that his role. He kills penalties. He has some moxie. He'll scrap if need be. Zane isn't taking any of those three jobs, and so now you're saying, how do we fit these pieces in?
Yeah, I mean, they
Do you slide Uyghur to the left side?
Hanley's been fantastic, but he's also 33,
and a UFA.
He's the easiest guy to lose,
and a lefty.
And they have Miramanov, who's on a deal you can bury in the AHL, and they have Jake Bean that if he's your 7, you might be okay with it. If you have enough guys, from the Wranglers who have amazing camps, he's a guy you probably feel if you're putting Jake Bean in the AHL, it means you have enough defensemen ahead of in the pecking order who really impressed that you're probably okay with rolling the dice on putting him on waivers, putting him in the minors.
Yeah, but again, he's a right shot defenseman. You've talked about all the guys in the left there.
Yeah.
So you asking Zane to play the left next year?
You're asking Uyghur to do what he did last few years.
And so that's where we start moving the puzzle pieces around. And I think Uyghur can do just absolutely damn fine. That he was awesome for a half decade then.
Uyghur seems to be pretty good at doing a lot of different things in a lot of different game situations,
including generating clicks for our reels as well.
Yeah. Let's go with that.
That's off the
Let's go with that.
Other questions or comments? We're kind of going down the prospect train. I did see someone ask a question about Basha. How's his season going? He's been hurt. We saw him celebrating on the bench with his Medicine Hat Tiger teammates.
Good vibes.
He had surgery, I believe, in North Carolina on a lingering issue that probably wasn't dealt with at the juncture they'd love to in hindsight, but you only can deal in the present. And I wonder what it would take to get him back on the ice with the Tigers this spring.
A long playoff run.
That's a start. It might take more than that. We'll see.
We will see.
He's got to get healthy. The team's got to still be playing. And I think they have to be so comfortable with his recovery that I don't think they're going to let anything get in the way of him having a monster camp, if you know what I mean.
Here's the cool thing. So here are the new faces potentially for the Wranglers next season. You'll have
Gridden will be there.
Gridden, Basha, Etienne Morin, possibly Arseny Sergayev, depending on how things go for him. And you'll have Suniev with a full camp. So they have like 5 or 6 guys.
That's 5 you named in all of the top 20 prospects in the organization. I think if you redid that list, Sergayev would be a lot higher too. He had a monster year at Penn State.
Yeah, and then you have to wait another year for Taglia, maybe Misa,
Muse
potentially, bunch of other guys. So Parekh, if he's not already in the pro system, so they got some guys to juggle. It's gonna be interesting. They're also not inactive in terms of exploring some college free agents. So there's some guys. I think Carter King's his name's been kicked around as a guy. They had him at Dev Camp.
Calgary kid.
I think his grandfather was one of the architects of the '88 Olympics. So there's a link there. He's also a guy who's a center, and they don't have a lot of those. So they're gonna have some options in Wrangler Town in the near future, especially in the fall. So it's gonna be interesting. And we don't talk enough about Axel Hurtig. I know
you like your Axel Hurtig.
Every time I talk to Western League people, they're like, "Have you seen this big Swede the Hitmen have? He's so steady."
And he was the 6th rounder from Nashville, if I'm correct.
Yeah, he's been eating his vegetables. He's been eating his vegetables.
Okay, let's continue to roll through comments and questions here on Afterburner following another Flames comeback win, 3-2. All 3 goals coming in 8-ish minutes. Payne's in for $10. Did we score for Wolf and win? We didn't. We lost. We didn't score for him. Prove we wouldn't score for Dan. Man, it's a Vladar Wolf fight in the comments. I think that's where we'll chalk up this $10 to. Leave it up because I did say I'll read it all. Wolf get the next start. Genius, or are we not in the playoffs? Well, it's a very polarizing set of arguments thrown there, but I will relay the question. Do you start Dustin Wolf Wednesday in Anaheim?
Yes. I think you play Dustin Wolf until you're no longer mathematically able to do things. It doesn't mean that Dan Vladar has been fantastic in his
role. Really good second half.
Yeah,
I'm much warmer to the idea of bringing him back than I was at Christmas. But again, his first half of the year he had a chance to take a starter's role, and he couldn't beat Dustin Wolf to do it.
I would say the ball's in his court, and I would say, you know what? One of my favorite Flames of all time is Rick Wamsley. You know why Rick Wamsley he was such a good backup. He was a fantastic
he understood
backup.
The job. Yeah.
He understood the job. I've waxed poetic in the past about one of the greatest low-key Flames draft picks of all time, Curtis McElhinney, 2-time Stanley Cup champion Curtis McElhinney.
Understood the job.
Mr. I think people didn't know how to spell his name, so people just called him Mick Backup.
Or Tabasco, a nickname that I wish caught on.
That's a fantastic.
Very similar to his last name.
Yeah, I mean, if we're being blunt, the net is going to be Dustin Wolf's for as long as Dustin Wolf resembles what he is now.
Yeah.
Unless his game completely falls off a cliff, more often than not, you're going to lean on Wolf. And
he's a top 5 goalie in the league at even strength.
Yeah. So
end of conversation.
But part of that is, you had Vladar doing the things that allowed him to be very, very used in those kind of situations. So I would say if Vladar is good with being a 2, a very good 2, a 2 that allows the 1 to be as great as he can be, I think the ball's in his court.
Yeah, I think they'd bring him back at a similar number. I think that's fair to say. And, they've won a higher percentage of the games Wolf started in. I'm really not here for the debate of him versus Vladar. The numbers clearly state that. And for as great as Dan Vladar has been, where is he? He's 896 now?
And
like every damn year, 895, 896.
If we're going to throw devil's advocate out, who the hell is going to be the backup next year if not Vladar? Like,
is there the wheel of backup goals?
Is there a better fit out there? You
never know who the good fits are until they're in and they're good fits. And sometimes you think the good fits are bad fits. It's goalies, right?
Yeah. You know what they need to do? Take goalies early in the draft as often as possible. Ravensburgen, huh?
Pike.
Ravensburgen.
Good WHL goalie. Vancouver area kid, I think.
Yeah.
PG.
Good numbers.
Probably your first goalie off the board this year, it sounds like, out of the Western League. So
I'm willing to bet the Flames don't take a goalie in the first
I would
round.
agree, and I think they've been very comfortable at selecting goalies rounds 3-4.
Unless Mr. Ravensburgen, do you want to learn how to play center?
I like his chances in net better. So drafting him as a center, he'll be gone as a goalie before that pick comes up, I'm sure. Other comments? Let's get to them, shall we, Yasmin? Thank you. Question: if possible cannot go next game, do you think they'll debut Suniev? Would he have to play a game this year to burn off the contract? He's already burnt the contract. He signed it.
Clock is already ticking.
Year 1 is this year. Doesn't matter if he touches the ice or not. Next year will be year 2 of his entry-level contract. And just like Matt Coronato this summer, in 3 summers' time, he will have 2 full years and a game or 2, if any, and not be eligible for an offer sheet looking for a second contract. Those things are not disputable.
Yeah, I would say just so everyone's aware, Pospisil went into the boards, came off clutching his arm, went to the room, came back, was on the bench, didn't play another shift.
Yeah.
So
Klapka elevated. We mentioned it briefly, but good to.
So Klapka is subbing in like a good man. They're both big, so if you weren't paying attention to numbers, it looked close. If Pospisil can't go, my guess is you keep Klapka in the top 9, and then you just throw Dryden Hunt in on the 4th line because he knows the systems and he doesn't need to play a lot and he'll be fine.
And Suniev would be your extra skater.
Yeah. So
being on the road in case someone's sick or gets a puck and warm up.
Dryden Hunt is useful because Dryden Hunt is, what we affectionately call a quad A. I'd say he's like a quad A plus. He knows exactly what he's doing. 200 and some NHL games, low risk metronome guy. There's a reason why Huska loves the player and the person. He understands, much like a good backup goalie. He understands what he needs to do if he has to be thrown in short notice. Suniev will have his chance at some point.
Yeah, and I agree with you entirely. And I think the biggest thing is Ryan Huska knows what he's getting from 10 minutes of Dryden Hunt. Does he know what the 10 minutes from either Suniev or like? No. And could it be probable that Suniev's a better guy to finish a chance? Sure, you could sell me on that. But Ryan Huska is not going to just throw him in when he has a very dependable 8 to 12 minute 4th liner at his disposal. It's already up. You don't have to recall him. He's with the club.
Yeah, he's reliable. He's versatile. You can put him in every 10 games for 10 minutes, and he'll give you good minutes. That's what you need.
Yeah. Next question. Let's keep moving. I see a Klapka question. This is from Tyler Bitsui. Has Klapka proven he can play in the NHL full-time after tonight's performance? I wouldn't say tonight's performance solidifies that, but I think you've seen development over the course of the year with all the recalls up and down, up and down. You're starting to see game over game more consistency. And you've seen a few games here, Colorado, and now tonight, where he's really moved the needle on, affecting the game and making plays that have changed outcomes of the game and earned this team points. His effort with Ryan Lomberg in the fourth line with Rooney in Colorado was huge. They stole 2 points in Colorado based on the fourth line's performance and their goalie being solid. And he did it again tonight. They're down 1-0 to the last place team in the NHL. What would have been a devastating blow. And the 6'8" fourth liner not only scores a goal to tie him and get the spirits lifted, he draws the power play they score on to take the lead. And they were on their way at that point.
Yeah, you have.
It's a great night for Adam Klapka. I felt similarly about Walker Duehr at points. So it doesn't mean he's an NHLer for the next 6 years, but
it means he's
right now he's playing every night because he's helping.
His waiver exemption ends after the season. I don't think he's going back to the AHL for a while.
Yeah, he would have to become ineffective, which is kind of what we saw with Walker Duehr there.
I think there's probably 31 NHL teams that would see a 6'8" guy who can do what he can do and go, we'll pay the fee. We'll take him.
Yeah, sure.
So he ain't getting through waivers.
I'd agree with that. Yeah. Something drastic or dramatic would have to happen for him to not be a fourth liner on this team moving forward. And I think he started to figure out how to use all those tools. He comes over from Europe, playing in Czech Republic as a very raw player. They've taken their time with him in the American League. He was not a fourth liner in the American League. He skates very well for a man of his size. He has some finish and some hands you don't usually see attached to 6'8" bodies.
Mackenzie Weegers used the term mutant to describe him because
he's
big and he does not move or play like a guy his size. Usually what's the affectionate term we use for gigantic human beings is Coke machine, because they're slow and they're wide and they don't have much of a turning radius.
Yeah.
And Adam Klapka is not a Coke machine. He is, I don't know what the hell to call him. He's like
he's a mutant.
He's like a robot.
Call him what Uyghur call him.
He's for a guy they got for absolutely nothing. They just spent some scouting time and found this guy and developed him and taught him their systems. He fits what they need like a glove. So, we'll see. I think off air you mentioned give him the Pospisil contract. Pospisil's getting $1 million for over a couple of years.
Perfect.
Do it.
I don't see any risk in that.
That's easy.
See a couple comments on Klapka just popping in. Richard saying Klapka is what we were wanting to see from Adam Ruzicka. I would agree with that. I also think he's bigger. I see Jetty saying I think Klapka, fire that one up for me. It just disappeared on my screen there. A very solid fourth liner, 11 minute of the night guy and a good team. Yeah, he's been very, very good at his role, and he's figured that out after playing a very different role.
And Husk is singling him out just in terms of we saw him tonight. You can elevate him. And the thing is, if you're one of the other wingers in the team, you kind of know in the back of your mind, okay, if I don't play great, you got this big guy behind me who might take my minutes. And so it keeps you on your toes a bit more so than if you had if you had a less versatile fourth line winger that you can't really move up and down the lineup as much. Maybe the guys are on their toes a little bit less. So it creates some internal competition and it also helps you win hockey games. So there's not a lot of downside with them.
I'm sticking with Yeti because he seems to like that. So very good. One more comment. It looks like we got started. Let's fire that one in. Murray Edwards or Jerry Jones for hockey? Murray owns a hockey team. For football, Jared's football team. They're both very successful businessmen.
I've been to Jerry's stadium. It's very nice. They have great food there.
And Murray's stadium will be nice as well when it's completed.
I've been told to also eat good food there. I've been promised.
They're both very wealthy, and they've both taken lots of tax dollars to build their palaces, which I suppose if that's what they'd like to do, they've done it. They're the owners. You don't get to pick your owners. Can't either or an owner.
It's true.
Can't trade your owner, right?
I don't think so.
I don't think Murray's a bad owner. I think he's very active.
Didn't the NBA do that with one of the Clippers owners?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to say racist things, you probably should be kicked out of the league. But
almost never can you get rid of an owner.
Yeah, almost never. Yeah.
And
So
I would argue, I know sometimes Murray is not the most popular guy, but I'll say this: they're spending to the cap pretty much every year. And if you follow the years where they used LTI, they were spending over the cap.
he's trying to field a competitive hockey team almost every year, and that's comes
you could have the debate about how you're spending the money.
Sure,
but they're spending the money.
Yeah, no question. Okay, that does it for comments. We're almost done here, but if you're not quite done, I would say reach into the fridge and grab one of those delicious Origin beers, would you? Boomer was hinting at some news coming out in the next few months, potentially a new addition to the Origin / Flames Nation family. We'll wait with bated breath on that, but we already have the Afterburner Pale Ale. We already have the Barn Burner Blonde. It feels like maybe you have twins and I have twins and they fight. If we just bring another kid over, they can all. We're expanding the family is the rumor.
We're gonna have some buffer. Add some kids for some buffer.
I think we should have 4. 3 is a horrible number, but to get to 4, we need to get to 3 first. So I'm excited for spring, summer. I don't know what it is, but I think we all have an idea of what it might be. So excited.
I am excited.
Great beer, great people, 5th generation farmers, Strathmore, now in Calgary as well. If you're in Strathmore, maybe you got kid hockey or a baseball tournament this summer, stop into the tap room. It is a great place, great food, great vibes. Obviously the great beer that comes from the great barley and the great malt that it makes. And it's a pretty nice Rolodex already that they would be adding to. We're talking about the homegrown lager, which you'll find on tap and around town a lot of places. The Mexican lager as well. You'll find that one around town. Very popular lighter beers. There's a ton of beers they've got. The Pioneer IPA is a fantastic IPA. If you like IPAs, the Lazy Days Hazy IPA, Rockyford Raspberry is one of my favorites this summer especially. Lots going on. Check them out, originbrewing.ca. And, of course, their location in Calgary in the Northeast. It is 943 28th Street Northeast. And, of course, Spruce Park Drive in Strathmore. But, hey, we don't need addresses. We all have smartphones. We just say, take me to Origin. Or you put it in a ride share or tell your taxi, and then you can have even more.
Yeah.
Responsibly.
And a Western League double overtime game just finished. We thought we were working.
Is that the Game 7?
Game 6. Oh, Game 7.
Game 7 tomorrow, I believe.
Game 7, Portland just beat the PG team. So Portland is moving along.
And that was the Game 7?
That was the Game 7. And Game 6, double overtime. I got texts from friends of mine who were at this game, and they had to delay part of the game because a puck broke the scoreboard.
No.
The Everett Silvertips won 1-0. They are moving along.
Wow.
They knocked out the Seattle Thunderbirds. So Eric Jameson, Denver-bound college player this fall, his season will continue as he continues to captain Landon DuPont.
I was going to say
the Everett Tips,
young phenom.
So
a 15-year-old stud.
I believe there is only one first-round game series in the Western League to determine. It's the Oil Kings and the PA Raiders, and I believe they'll play Tuesday. So
Game 7 tomorrow night. That'll be a fun one. I believe Edmonton hosts as the top team in the bracket there, higher seeded up top. If you're looking at the same page I was looking at earlier.
Opposite. They're playing in PA.
Thank you. Okay. And then depending who wins that will set all the second round matchups, correct?
Yeah. The team that wins that game, that series will, I believe, play Medhat. Calgary will play Lethbridge.
Okay.
Victory Plus, it is free, or you can go to a rink in Calgary or Lethbridge. They have a schedule up.
Good. So Calgary, Lethbridge locked in, settle down Lethbridge. And if we somehow, some way transform 2 weeks into the future, I would love to see Medicine Hat Calgary left, but lots of hockey left to get there.
Yeah. Medhat Calgary seems like it's the Eastern Conference final at some point, but yeah.
Crazier things have happened.
Yeah. That's a clash of the Titans. I think that feels like a 7-game series, and whoever's left over we'll see if they can survive Everett, I guess. Everyone thought Everett would steamroll over everyone based on how good the regular season was, and they had to survive Seattle a bit. So, junior hockey playoffs are phenomenal. If you got a chance to go out to a junior game, guys, no matter where you are in North America, go to your local junior rink. Tickets are inexpensive, the beers are inexpensive, and the games are wild.
Yes, Western League playoffs, love it. Good plug from Pike. Anything else catching your eye over there, Yasmin, before we call it a night? I did send you the updated playoff standings. You can maybe go out on that with just one more look. I know it's everyone is abreast of the situation, but just to see it 4 points back, 1 game in hand on the Wild. They do play the Wild. If you won your game in hand and you beat the Wild in regulation, you would be tied, but losing a tiebreak to the Wild.
Yes.
So you do have to get to 1 point more than the Wild. They do not control their destiny yet. But if the Wild were to stub their toe on Wednesday, where there are even rumors of a Kaprizov return, that would open the door for the Calgary Flames.
I don't know. I think you want to keep Kaprizov in bubble wrap for a while because those Sharks, they're going to be real sour over letting this one get away from them. I think they'll go head hunting. You want to keep him bubble wrap for at least another game or 2, maybe 4. Keep him bubble wrap for 4 more games.
Thanks for being with us. Appreciate everyone jumping in with the comments, especially the super chats as we send that money to the youth centers of Calgary. Thanks to our sponsors, Bet365, Derek Newman, the Derek Newman Group with CIR Realty. Also, of course, Platinum Mitsubishi. We'll see you on April 12th for the Outlander launch barbecue. 11-4, did I see? That's a big swath of time there. Get comfy.
And thanks everyone for staying up late with us. This
late.
Was an 8:30 local start, and with the anthems and the ballyhoo and stuff, this thing didn't get started till close to 8:45 Mountain Time. It is well past midnight as we're doing this live. So all you folks in the comments, everyone watching live, thanks for staying up late with us.
You've earned an origin. That's what you've done.
You've definitely earned several origin.
You can save them for tomorrow, which is already today, I suppose. So maybe don't save them. Whatever works for you. Thanks for being with us. Appreciate it. Big one on Wednesday. It is the Ducks and the Flames. Yourself and Boomer will be on Afterburner for that, if I'm correct.
I believe so.
Can't wait. Barburner tomorrow at the regular time. See you, buddies.